Oh, we are live. We are live. Give me 1 second to read the chat. All right. Still got the glitch. We're gonna fight through it though. All right, welcome to a late night edition of ISUPK LASHAWAN QADASH. Shalom, y'all Bashem, y'all Shai, Thumb to the brothers, y'all Shamar Latan, Bashem, y'all Shai, to the sisters, peace and awesome. 1,000 among the bar, you became Milwaukee. Now we are back with the LASHAWAN QADASH class, the Hebrew tongue, the holy tongue. Where we had left off was in Psalms 121, picking up at verse 3. Let's get this. It's today's date, 25th. See that pretty good. Listen, we got the Passover coming up April 12th in Atlanta. April 12th, Passover. So, get ready for that weekend. Immediately followed up with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So make sure you get your travel arrangements logged in, your hotel or wherever you're going to stay arrangements, your Airbnb, your timeshare, your condo, your minivan. However you got to travel out there and stay out there comfortably, get on top of it now. You ain't got to scramble at the last minute. I know this is a late edition, but we are here. Y'all are over there, so might as well jump back into it. Just mark this. We still got. I don't know if we're ever going to get rid of that, but just keep it around as staple. And I can see we got the TV glare there on the other side, but we kind of need the TV, so we're gonna just tough that one out. So back into the Hebrew. Psalms 121. Verse 3. So again, we're going to do this in kind of two sets. Because the way it's written in the Torah, or I should say in the Tanakh, each verse can occupy 2 lines. We're just going to take it from there and work on it as we go. So we're going to write it off from the Paleo Hebrew first, the English in the middle, and then the Assyrian Hebrew underneath. Again, in the Hebrew, it reads from the right to the left. In English, we read from the left to the right. So when I pile these up, sorry, keep on forgetting it gets a little blurry. So when I pile these up, the English is going to be out of place. But you can always read it best in the King James, or you can follow along like the Blue Letter Bible. Or, pretty much any Bible app, eSword, but you want to make sure that whatever English equivalent that it's given is coming from the King James to keep it accurate for the word-for-word translation of it. A lot of the other translations, it's going to be a thought for thought. So you might catch a phrase and the author, whoever made that translation, is going to give you what they think was the intended message behind it, versus a word-for-word comparison and breakdown, which is one of the excellent points about the King James. So if you have the Tanakh, you got one of these guys, the English side of this is not the King James. It is not equivalent to it. Especially when you transfer it, when you break down these Hebrew words and then you look back over to the English, it's not going to be as crispy lined up. the way that the King James would deliver. So we would always defer to the King James and recommend that people also follow the King James. Especially when you when it's coming into the LASHAWAN QADASH. You should read the King James period in English, but in the LASHAWAN QADASH, when you're trying to make the transition linguistically, it's better to read that. It's just more accurate, more comfortable. It's safer that way. You'll thank us in the long run. So we are in Psalms. Where we are. One 21 and verse 3. All right. LASHAWAN QADASH. The tongue holy. As we've seen, Hebrew kind of reads similar to Spanish, where when you transfer it in English, it looks like everything's kind of out of order or backwards. But the more comfortable you get with it, you'll see how the placement goes, and it's not that big a deal, just how the language and how the culture functions. So that when you're reading it, though, it still comes out straightforward. Just every language has its style to it. So, verse 3. It's going to look. It looks like we did 3 actually. Verse 4. My fault. And it looks like we're going to be in verse 4 instead. So it's going to read Hana. Nah. And again, as always, the recap, we have our connecting and independent markers. So if you got the upside down curve, that character gets pronounced by itself. We have the upside right curve. It shows how the two characters are connected. They get pronounced together. Now, gonna woman. The woman. Pretty much every time, 90% of the time, when you see "wom" in any word, they're going to be connected. A lot of times at the end of the words, like those last two characters are going to be connected. And I can see it all the time, obviously, but some things to look for when you're pronouncing it, when you're reading in the Assyrian and you're trying to pronounce it. Again, the more practice you have with it, the more familiarity you gain, the more confidence you're going to have, the better your delivery is going to be. But you're going to start seeing some of those patterns um, on how the prepositions affect the roots that showcase the possession at the end of it. So in the beginning is going to be your preposition. Only in the middle is going to be your root. And then at the end of it is going to be what makes it possessive and gives, kind of points at the indication of possession. His, hers, mine, ours, the Most High's. It just depends on the context on how it's going to be delivered. You get one. Again, you can see all those are going to be independent. You gotta get shun. It's more or less legible, and it's always going to be kind of a rough spot. We're bring the English through, but we're going to make this work nevertheless. We got plenty of room to work with. So now again, this is the Paleo, or what people would call like we call it the Syro-Phoenician. No, not the Syro-Phoenician. It's like I can't think of the term. It might have actually been it too. Down here, I'm going to start writing in the Assyrian. So again, we're in verse 4. I'm just going to base it off of this. In the Assyrian, we don't normally have the connectors in there. But we also don't use that dot and dash system either. That's not part of the Hebrew tongue, the Hebrew culture. That was when the Yiddish was transplanted over our writing system from that existed way back. So from their conversion, when they bastardized and watered down our language and culture, that's how we got the little dots and dashes to try to make sense of it, because they were still using their pronunciation, their method of pronunciation, trying to make sense of ours to match theirs. So that's where you get Yiddish from. And that's why a lot of European countries, of the old, they can communicate relatively smooth because of their familial ties or cultural ties. Because Yiddish is just I'll show you something in a second. All right, let me just write this down, transfer it over. Oh, it's a lot here wrong. Wrong characters. Let's try to do this right if we're going to do it. Feel like I'm slanting up. It's always the rough part when it's kind of freehand. Like that. One. They kind of went up on a ramp a little bit from here to here, but I think we'll live. All right, so let's get the English in here. So far, we had I'll lift up mine eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. And without suffer thy foot to be moved. Shalom, no pressure. It's like class right now. It's like you're in class right now. Well, put this on pause.
Yeah, I got it's fun right after that. It's pretty urgent. I'm trying to make sure I have I'm trying to fact check some things. But
if it's about Hebrew Academy, we are off.
This
Yes, kind of okay.
Call me after you get done finishing.
Kind of okay. So,
Once.
yeah. Some sort of that. So lock it. Where were we? Lifting my eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yahweh. Verse 2. Made heaven and earth. Verse 3. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. So now we're in verse 4. Yep, you can see still under here. We definitely got into that last week. All right. Now verse 4. It's like it's good to use this with I like using the Blue Letter Bible. You do comparison, let you kind of shows you where the placement goes. If you can get reception wherever you know. Reception always helps. Again, paying attention to the placement of the characters. You see how the La starts off above the rest of the characters. And it ends on that same line relatively with all the rest of the characters. The Ya, it's just like that little apostrophe, but it still stays within those brackets. And again, and I always say this, penmanship aside, you know, we all might write a little bit differently, but we try to keep it all relatively legible. You know, if I can tell, you know, if a brother was spelling this over this, you know, if you can't make that, if you can't make that distinction, you definitely got a problem with the handwriting skills. But we have enough practice with this uniformly so that we don't run into that mess. We can see here the last character, the na, how that drops below the rest of the line. It starts off with everything else lined up, then it drops below the rest of the line. And these are a couple of the characters that take on a different form at the end of a word, versus if they were in the beginning or in the middle, take on a different form at the end. You don't see that with the Paleo Hebrew. You do see that with the Assyrian, not with every character, but we just select a few special ones, I guess. Verse 3. So again, it's gonna read a little weird. Like when you open up the blue letter, it's gonna look out of position the way that they try to explain it and break it down. So you do gotta kind of put in some diligence. So this is gonna be behold. Then a woman. It's gonna translate into shall. Now la'ah is gonna be neither in this case. So la'ah is normally no, neither works in that place as well because of the context. Yeah, you have shun, sleep. Well, la'ah is gonna be nor. So wa is normally by itself. Wa will normally be and. So and no, that roughly translates to nor. You know, the glare is kind of in our way a little bit, but that's N-O-R, nor. So wala'ah, you see la'ah here being used as neither. So if you're to say and neither, and no, in English, that would articulate out into nor. Um, so it reads kind of out of place in the Hebrew. When you translate this back into the English, the second half of it, you're gonna see how that comes together. But if we're gonna read it right now, behold shall neither sleep nor shall neither It's like my fault. That's for slumber too. It's actually being attacked. So this is going to be, I guess, shall is actually going to be applied because you got a woman that's going to be slumber. I was wondering how I was going to fit that in there. All right, so behold, neither slumber nor sleep. So in English, just kind of the way that they kind of fill in the gaps. In English, you do got a lot of filler. You got a lot of filler words in English that you don't need in Hebrew. Hebrews is much more straightforward. Let's see if I can darken this up. Hebrews a lot more straightforward, and it doesn't require it doesn't require all of like the broker words to fill in the gaps. It's a little better. So Hana la'a yanawam wala'a yashan. Behold, neither slumber nor sleep. Again, in the English, you're going to read it as, behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. So the part that we're missing is, he that keepeth Israel. That shall is kind of, that shall word is kind of the, again, one of the filler words. In English, if you don't use things like that, you're going to sound, I don't want to give us trouble, but you're going to sound simplistic. You're going to sound like you don't speak English. Give that another maybe 30 seconds or so. You need to copy that down, or you can just rewatch the video. We'll be all right. And again, paying attention. In the Paleo Hebrew, you're not going to have a whole lot of characters that are so close to each other in form that you're going to get them confused. I could see it with ha and ya. They do have some similarities there. You know, if you were to take off that tail, that'd be a lot closer. I can see how that could get confusing. The ma, so I could the ma and the na. Okay. I think we're all used to M and N in the English alphabet enough to not really, get tripped up over that. But in the Assyrian, that's where you're going to have a lot of characters that do have very similar shapes and looks to it. The profile is going to be very similar. So when you're reading it, they might get tripped up. Because if you're not paying attention, stay on this side. That ha and the na, you could get that mixed up because they do have similar profile in this. The na, it's going to be thinner. The ha is going to be wider though. Slacker. So looking at the profile of that character you're trying to identify is going to be, it's going to come in. It's going to be very important to use instead of just looking at the distinctive differences between, like these would be, I would like to think are impossible to mix up in your head. I suppose anything can happen, but not as easy as this. Not as easy as that. The Y is going to be, the now is already on a thin profile. The Y is going to be even thinner. But if you're not paying attention, you could shake those up. A lot of people get the ya and the wa confused too, because they're both just they're very kind of subtle marks. Um, just a few things to keep in mind. And again, we can see here at the end, takes on a different character form. That is still the na. That one's done. Still a na. Can't see that though. Let's maybe make that bigger. Nah, okay. Versus the ka. These are normally the two main ones that'll garner that confusion, because they're both tall. They both got that same kind of shape. Well, yeah, that same shape to it. Just again, one's on a thinner profile, the other one is wider. So things to keep in mind and look at when you're reading through, to make it easier to kind of give your mind that muscle memory, so that when you're reading newer words, newer passages, I don't say characters, because the Lord allowed by this time you have most of them. You'd be kind of comfortable with identifying at least the characters. But when you're being presented with different scriptures, it won't be as challenging. In Genesis, for example, some of the spots that we're at right now, you're going to see a lot of words repeated because of maybe a theme or a sentiment, a story that's going on at that time that uses maybe they're doing a count, or the son of this person, that person, this person, that person. So you can see banya or ban a lot. Things like that. Kind of again, just repetition helps you just kind of read through everything. Another couple seconds while I finish with soda. Take this time to give you all a friendly reminder. Stay the hell away from the voting booths and do not register November 5th. They got nothing to do with you. As a people, we are commanded by our God to not give a damn about their vote policy, practices, candidates. We've got our own to worry about. And as always, any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to engage in the chat. It'd be better if it was on the topic of the language, but while we're here hanging out, even if it's off subject, if we got time, we'll jump into it. Otherwise, if you get any questions, comments, or concerns about the Hebrew language, feel free to engage. Cleaning this up. So we got behold, neither slumber nor sleep. Where's the rest of the sentence? Where's the rest of it? The rest of it is actually going to be very short, so keep it looks like we're going to do a couple verses today. So, Shawamah, big enough. But we can actually make these bigger, since this is actually going to be a really short, just two words that we're kind of missing out on. So we'll make these There we go. Shawamar. And it's going to go right over the top. That's solid. It's not Yisrael. It's not Yashar. It's not Isis Rod L. It's Yashara, Prince of the Power. So Shawamar Yashar Allah. Looks like Allah. Like that. You know, that it's going to be your preference, and that's better. That good too. Yasha. Yashala. So, yeah, kind of did it again, got to scan it, slant it up. That's just our little OCD. Little OCD. We're going to be okay, though. We're just going to move on. Just going to move on. So, this is going to be keep it. Yasha. So, shamar is to watch. It's the term that we use for being on post on security. In English, again, they're going to kind of compound everything into this word. They're going to express that as the phrase "he that keepeth." Shawamar in itself, like that. If you were to look it up, the lexicon H8104. We'll still it's just operating. Now, I think with these markers, you got to keep them standing up, but they do not like it. Let's see what this one looks like. This one's going to operate. Much better, but that kind of shows up. You know what? We're just going to use that black one, I think. Much better. Just gonna Israel Yashala. Gonna cut these off. So now, if you were to just read it in just the Hebrew without kind of those filler words, you're gonna get something more like just read this. Go ahead. Behold, neither no slumber and no sleep, and keepeth Israel. You almost have to imply, because again, in the verse that we read prior to, again, just in English, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. And it says in verse 2, my help cometh from Yahweh. So that lets us know the context of who we're talking about, that doesn't slumber, that doesn't sleep, and that keepeth Israel. Verse 3, he will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yahshua shall neither slumber nor sleep. So you're going to need words like this, he that, the shawamar in itself, but that's already one word. It doesn't have a proposition. It doesn't have a possessive. This is just the word in itself. It would be more akin to keep it, guarding, watching over, protecting. And if you were to look up shawamar, which is again what we were just trying to do. Slack, you got the slow leg here. And again, the root word is going to be shamar. So the wa gives it I would say kind of like a different application of it. And so to keep, guard, observe, give heed, to keep, have charge of, keep guard, keep watch, protect, save life. You can use it to denote watchman. The action of to watch, to wait for, to observe, to be on guard, to take heed, to take care, to be aware. See? So again, shamar is going to be the root word there, just depending on how you apply it. It can be yashamar, which means like I or me. It's kind of making you the proposition. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. Making you the proposition of it. So this is just going to be a variation. Doesn't really change the word or the meaning of it too far. But shawamar, if we keep it, we know the context is that our power, our God, is the one that keepeth. This is the verse that we read prior to. Yashala, Prince of the power. So Yah again, I. Yeah, depending on how it's used, I or he. Shar is prince. Allah is power. So you might see the word Allah by itself, um, and in English you might read God, or again you might read power. It all depends on the application of it. There's no just one kind of cookie cutter answer to it. It just depends on the context. Um, that's what's gonna drive everything. So I'm trying to get my shadow out the way. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. So in English, when you read this, it's gonna be it's gonna look different than how it's written out in the Hebrew. Because again, the subject matter, being how the Most High is keeping watch, protecting Israel, comes at the end of the sentence. Whereas, the actions, what's the verbiage of what's going on, comes in the beginning. So it just kind of reads a little bit different. So behold, no slumber, no sleep, keepeth Israel. Now it's not saying that no slumber or no sleep is what's keeping Israel. But again, if you're to look at the verses prior to it, let's just take a look at, for example, verse 3. Open up verse 3. Again, it's going to kind of read kind of backwards. So Al Yathan, Lama Wak Wagoka, Al Yanawam Shamar. Which would have read not slumber or will not suffer foot move the order of this. And again, it reads it out. It reads it out different. It has Shamarka, that ka at the end is what makes it possessive there. But in verse 3, Shamarka would be at the end of the word. But to explain it in English, it's more in the middle. So he will not suffer that foot to be moved, he that keepeth thieves will not slumber. So again, we have Yanawam and slumber. Slack. Yathon, sleep. It's like he will. So Al Yathon, it's backwards, kind of saying not will or not he will. I don't know if I can get that on the board. Let me see if I can get this on the TV with y'all. Otherwise, I think I'm just gonna sound like a madman. The Bible. I'll share this screen. All right, so we're right here in verse 4. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. When you open this up, though, the order of operations here in the Hebrew would be out of place in English. So it starts off with Hana, behold. But again, we got he that keepeth, Shawamah, as the second word broken down here. But that's, as we can see it highlighted up here, that's almost at the end. So we got behold, he that keepeth. Again, making it kind of a compound word. But again, standing by itself, this is just going to be keepeth, or watch over. But the context given from the previous verse lets us know that he that keepeth, like the power that's responsible for when it's keepeth. Israel. Which is at the end of the sentence, or at the end of the verse, the one that we're on. But if you were to read it back in English, those words get moved to the front in succession, just but in English. In Hebrew, read it from the right to the left again. It puts kind of the subject matter at the end, and the actions leading up to it. So behold, he that keepeth Yashal shall neither slumber nor sleep. That's how it reads. When you compare from the English side here on the left to the Assyrian Hebrew on the right side, you can see how it reads in English. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. But if you were to pay attention to the order of the words and how it's laid out in the text itself, again, it would look out of order. But again, because we have verse 3, we have, I think it was verse 2 more so, that distinguished the power that's watching over us. This, okay, there we go. Same thing with verse 3. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth, they will not slumber. Same kind of thing going on. You look at the order of the words here, you can see that they do not match up. It really is clean. You're done. Look at that real quick. Given, stole, delivered, afflicted, made, set, appointed. So I have to get back to this one. So they're kind of using this whole thing, not suffer. See the arrow pointing up, arrow pointing down. And you know that these are, I'm gonna say they overlap, meaning wise, because of the emphasis on suffer. I'll get fun, not suffer. And this is just kind of what's implied to clean it up in English. Because you do have the ya here. So Nathan itself is to root for it again. It's like it is the root itself. We had to give, to put, deliver, made, set, up, grant, suffer. So that's what we kind of see the usage of it. Yield, bring, cause, other, blah, blah, blah. It's just Nathan in itself. So now making it a Yathan. See that here, I'll get done. Not stuff. It just makes it a derivative of Nathan. Yathan. It's still the root word. Nathan is still the root word. But Yathan actually adds the proposition. It's like, I'm still getting used to some of the grammatical terms here, but yeah, you'll see how that makes it the proposition Yathan. So Al Yathan not suffer, or he not suffer, or I guess textually he suffer not, or not he suffered, not he suffered. Al the other one, or Al Yathan not he suffered. Number what? Actually, sorry, succession. We'll go. Regalka. Regal is foot. Regalka. The possessive, that's it's our foot, because the ka is normally kind of a plural sense. A plural possessive. Because if we were to say, it's ours, that's thy foot, that's my foot, but it's our feet that are at stake, that's being protected. That we will not suffer thy foot, our foot, lamwa, to be moved. So now, to be moved is not going to be broken down in Hebrew, but we can see that the word etymology, the root word, why, is a spot to start at. Move, remove, slip, carry, cast, course, decay, falling down, excuse me, fall, ready, shake, slide, there. So to tether, shake, slip, to be shaken, to be moved, to dislodge or let fall, shaken. You got Mawat is the root there. Lamwat is the Hebrew word given. So a shaking, wavering, pull, bar of yoke, shaking, tottering, pull, bar again for carrying, bar of yoke. And then the yoke is just representing like bondage, prison, captivity, or burden. Yeah, what? What? In a lot, in most cases, and again at the beginning, especially given the preposition, that's going to be to. So to move, to be moved. Yeah, that matches up. So again, in English, you will not suffer thy foot to be moved. In Hebrew, not be suffering. Their feet to move. We got Shamarka. Keep with the will. Same thing that they did with up top of suffering. That keep thee will not slumber or sleep, the way that it would read. Sounds a little off. And actually, so I think we're going to cut this short at this one verse. We will see you back here at hopefully a little bit earlier of a time. You know, we still, you know, all got commitments, got obligations. Got to take the city bus. Sometimes might not be here right at the scheduled time that we normally would have had it, which would have been about 7 o'clock. So I started late. Do apologize. Thank anybody for rocking with us. And when they were out, Instagram got kicked us off. Okay. Disconnected. 1 hour. Okay. So Instagram is only good for an hour. All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We're about to cut out. But I hope there you can kind of see how writing it out in the Hebrew, it's not going to translate. It's not gonna be a linear translation, side by side, going with the English words. You're gonna end up mixing the sentence up, you're gonna end up restructuring the sentence. Again, very similar to kind of how Spanish is done. To provide context to kind of give the build up of the subject matter. Prior to introducing the subject. But again, thank y'all for joining us. We're going to cut this class short. It's been, just over an hour. So again, we have Passover coming up. Let me get this screen off. Passover coming up April 12th in Atlanta. Get all your arrangements lined up. Save your money. Get your garments. Save a couple bucks so you can check out, the jewelry that brothers and sisters got up there. Yakas are out there in the headquarters. Him and his chain gang. Lord allow, maybe he'll cut us another deal. The brother is known for his generosity and brotherhood, so maybe he'll give us another hookup on those chains. You know what I'm saying? So something to look forward to. Captain Zariak, Carl Gas, Stitched by Nah, it's like Stitched by Nine. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of talent going on around. So keep tuned in with the classes for any updates. We're going to see y'all tomorrow at about 10 o'clock for the Sabbath service. Go over some of these. We say this first specifically at the Sabbath service anyway, so you can see us rehearse it again. So feel free to join us bright and early tomorrow at 10 a.m. Otherwise, with that, we're going to let y'all go. Shalom Israel. Y'all Bashem Yashab come to the brothers. Y'all Samar Latam Bashem Yashab to the sisters. Shalom. And if you ever hear me use words like trifling, backstabbing, crooked, unclean, damaging, irreputable, fake, phony, funky, kind of words and vocabulary